Hi and welcome to the panel shows Play the Game. My name is Alira Cause and I'm going to be your host for today. I have three amazing guests joining me on the couch today. I have Tim Colombrita, I have Andrew Pineda, and I also have Mark Hinchelwood.
Hi Alira.
Hi, how are you?
Good,
thank you for joining us. So you're all diverse in your own way, and I guess we're going to get to that. So Tim, let's talk us through you. What brought you here today? Your sport, your passion for sport? How did you get to be on this couch with us today?
Oh, it all started in 2010 when I started racing go-karts. Parents got me into it and started building my way up, going through karting, Australian National Series, and so last year we started racing the APRA Limited Series, so had a great time in that, got Rookie of the Year, finished in the top 5 in the points, so next year we're going to do that again.
How exciting, and I've read that you've actually been racing for 8 years. That's quite a pretty good career so far.
No, it's been good. I've loved every second of it. Yeah. With especially spending time with my family, my dad. Really been really good fun time.
Lovely. So your father is obviously an avid racer, and it's transcended down to you, or you just found this passion as a child and said, "Dad, I want to race."
Both my parents used to race about 25 years ago, and as soon as I was old enough to race, they said we'll go buy a go-kart, and then I started off from then, going to local tracks around Sydney, and then. Yeah. But it's been awesome.
So quite a competitive family, I'm guessing, within racing.
Oh, very competitive, even outside of motorsport. It's been very competitive.
Lovely. So you've joined the Pulsar series. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's a 7-round series in New South Wales. We race at Sydney Motorsport Park and Wakefield Park, and it's a one-make series. So every car is pretty similar. It's a matter of how good you can drive the car and what you can perform.
Lovely. Well, we've actually got some footage of you, so let's take a look. That's pretty impressive. How does it feel to actually be in the car and in the go-kart? Like, is it a feeling that you can't describe, or is it just electric? Like, talk us through it, because I've never been in a go-kart.
In a go-kart, it's very fast reacting, so everything has to happen really fast. So over the years, you obviously build up your reaction times and the way things work. When you go to a car, obviously it's a lot slower, so everything happens a lot slower. You got a lot of time to think about changing gears, brake markers, and all sorts of things. So it's very fun.
Do you ever get scared?
I went to Bathurst in November, first ever time, and my first session. It was a bit scary going across the top of the mountain, but slowly calmed down and got into it.
And I guess, you know, a lot of people want to know, is there a massive difference between driving a go-kart and then being on normal roads? Do you feel like you want to switch over and sometimes drive like you're in a go-kart?
Oh no, it's obviously on the road you got rules and speed limits, but you shape your way into racing and normal driving, so it's been all right.
So you're also a plumber. as well, outside of racing.
Yeah. So
You're in your apprenticeship, or you?
yeah, I'm 3 years into my apprenticeship, so I'm still got another 3 years after that. So, but my goal is racing, but always got to have something to fall back on.
I was just about to say that it's a good fallback career, but obviously you have your eyes on the prize that you want to take this to a professional level. What are your goals for the next, I guess, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Where do you see yourself?
Some goals would be obviously a full-time racing career in whatever I'd race, whatever car. But it's all up to how I can perform, if I can get sponsorship, and if people think I've got the talent to race.
Do you have a favourite car that you like to drive?
Oh, I'd like to drive the Carrera Cup series. That'd be awesome.
Lovely. So, any major accidents?
No, I've been pretty lucky. I haven't had any major accidents, not even through karting or cars. So I've been pretty lucky.
Okay, and your girlfriend is actually a racer as well. So that must be quite competitive, being boyfriend, girlfriend, both racers. Some tense times. Talk us through that.
We try to keep the track separate to at-home relationship stuff, but it does get very intense and sometimes doesn't end well, but we've managed to get our way around it, so it's been fine.
Lovely. So do you guys fight over who's a better driver?
Oh, it's hard to say. I think I'm a little bit better.
Of course, of course. So, Mark, you're
Yes.
a driver yourself.
Yes.
Now, talk us through your career and what's brought you here today.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently the driver for the AC Delco Pro Slammer drag racing team. So drag racing is a two-car race, 2 cars on the racetrack racing over a quarter of a mile, and we can reach speeds of up to 400 kilometres per hour in literally a matter of seconds. So they are a phenomenal thing to drive, and I've driven...
That's fast.
It is. I've been fortunate enough to be able to drive quite a few different vehicles in my time. I currently drive a winged 900 horsepower sprint car as well, and I can honestly say that these Pro Slammers are absolutely insane to drive. They are phenomenal. And a little bit like Tim was saying, you have to respond and react very, very quickly, because it can get ugly real fast.
So I guess the name Mad Mark comes from you being a lunatic in the car, or where does that come from? Where
Yeah,
does it
so
resonate? Dean
Dean Neal, actually from Western Sydney Dragway, a commentator back in the day, coined the Mad Mark phrase, and it was from some fairly wild driver antics. Nothing out, too crazy, but yeah, it's kind of stuck. So I've got the Mad Mark persona, and also the red cordial kid I'm kind of known as well with the sprint car. So yeah.
Lovely. So how did you actually get into racing? Like, was it something that was passed down through family, or was it just this burning desire to just drive fast cars?
My mum and dad as a kid had record shops. We had record and cassette shops, and they do not know where the racing bug or when it hit, but basically at the age of about 16 I was invited to go to my first drag race meeting at an all Holden day, and being a Holden guy, I went down, and we actually we came runner up in a particular bracket on the day, and we've been drag racing ever since. So I have done thousands and thousands of passes down the quarter mile in both sedans, and then into an altered, which is a long skinny type vehicle with big parachutes, and then into funny cars, and then now into the AC Delco Pro Slammer.
So you've travelled quite a bit for your job with racing.
Yes,
Where's it taken you?
I've been fortunate to actually race in a little bit in America. Most of my racing has been in Australia, with being a Kiwi background. I did a lot of racing in New Zealand as well, so it's been neat. I've raced for many different teams, but the current team with AC Delco and Holden, it's a corporate-backed team. Morris Fabietti, the team principal and car owner, has been phenomenal. On a bad note, I had a little accident a couple of years ago, and as a result, wasn't quite sure where my driving was going to go after that accident. Thankfully, Fab saw something in me and picked up the phone and made the call, and it's been a really cool ride ever since.
We've actually got some footage of you in your car, so let's take a look.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so
Mark, you just touched on that you had an accident. Can you talk us through what actually happened on that day?
Yeah. So basically I was driving for another team. It was an alcohol funny car team. The date was August 9th, 2015. It's one of those days that I will never forget, and birth dates, you remember those sort of dates. August 9th, 2015, we were running the alcohol funny car. The engine, we had a mechanical failure. As a result of the mechanical failure, my legs were on fire in the car. I couldn't breathe. I was doing approximately about 100 kilometres per hour when I decided my shutdown procedures, things were getting ugly real quick, and I decided to jump out of the car. So I actually had already deployed the parachutes. I opened the escape hatch out of the funny car roof and actually jumped, hit the tarmac at about, they say somewhere between 70 to 100 k's an hour. The impact actually stripped my shoes clean off my feet, and it was almost like someone had placed them on the racetrack. That wasn't too big a deal because you're in some fairly good safety gear. You're in a Dash 20 fire suit, multi-layer, 5-layer suit and helmet and everything. The big problem was, as the car actually came past me, it actually scooped me up inside the parachutes, broke my neck, and tore this arm, actually dislocated this arm, and I went for a ride. So my claim to fame is I'm the only person I believe in the world that's actually gone through the finish line, actually encapsulated inside the parachutes of a race car. So the parachutes eventually spilled me out, and I knew straight away that it was not good. I had double vision, and I can remember laying there and I was conscious the whole time, talked through the paramedics that were there. Chopper landed, and I said to them, my first response was, can I wiggle my toes? I need to know, where we're at here. I need to know, what's going on. And they said, yeah, you can wiggle your toes. And I couldn't quite feel this arm was starting to shut down. And yeah, a bit of a nasty time. But we've come back, fairly big rehab, and 76 days in a halo brace to support my neck and get that all going back together. And as a result, wrote an amazing blog which helps others now, and I've had doctors contact me from around the world that have read the Mark versus Halo blog, and which has been really nice. It's really nice when you can turn a really shitty situation into a bit of a positive.
And I guess it's quite therapeutic for you as well to debrief on what has happened and put it pen to paper, because it may resonate with someone else.
Absolutely.
And that's super important.
Absolutely. I'm not one who's ever suffered from depression, but I certainly went through a bout of depression, and being able to go through that and come out the other side and try and help people and talk to people. And I've been chatting on Facebook Messenger over the years from different people that have had accidents or have been fitted with a halo brace, form of torture that no one should ever have to be fitted with. And it's been really nice to try and help them and help them learn how to deal with what they've, the hardware that they've been fitted with.
Yeah, it's nice that you've got that platform that someone can reach out to you if they're going through that, and you can actually resonate with them that I know what you're feeling, because it's easy for us to say I know how you feel, but you can actually relate to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really
definitely
important. So with your rehabilitation, what was your process?
Yeah, so I'm a numbers kind of guy, so I break everything down into modules. So the first module was the halo brace. Isn't actually going to repair my neck? Am I going to come out of that okay? Because they weren't really sure if they were going to have to fuse my neck and how my eye, because I had bad double vision, was going to respond to the treatment with the halo brace. We came out of the halo brace healed, so that was module 1 done, 3 months, boom. So then I go, right, next 3 months, what do I need to do? Eyes, got to get my eyes sorted. So I still had the double vision. They weren't really sure how to deal with that. They weren't quite sure how to actually approach the rehab. They basically sent me on my way and come back in another 3 months and see how you're going. I'm a mountain biker. I do a lot of mountain biking, a lot of road bike riding. I ride to and from work. Every weekend I'm out with my kids. So to me it was a natural, I've got to get on my bike, I've just got to ride. So the very first time I actually rode my mountain bike was actually from work to home. I can remember my wife actually standing on the doorstep and greeting me with anticipation. Oh, he's coming home, please be careful. And there I am with an eye patch on. I couldn't even put my arm on the handlebar to ride. But the really weird thing was, from the moment I got home, I just felt that it was doing something good on my shoulder and for my eyesight. And over the period of those next few months, I just rode and I rode and I rode. And in my bio, I actually say I was the Forrest Gump of bike riding. 1 month I rode 1,600 kilometres on a mountain bike. And I ended up hooking up with some bunch of guys, and we rode from Cairns to the tip of Australia on an epic mountain bike adventure, which is one of the greatest things I've ever done. It was phenomenal.
Really inspiring story there.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, it really is. It makes the rest of us feel extremely lucky to be alive when you've been through something like that.
Like anything, Alira, you've got to surround yourself with good people. You've got to, you've got to eat well. You've got to have a positive attitude. I can remember one of the times my son, I was sitting there moping and sulking, and he said, "Dad, do you want to play a game of cards?" And I went, "Luke, I just want to sit here and sulk." And he said, "You're a Hinchelwood. You don't sulk." And far out. That just, it chokes me up now. But you need people like that. A 7-year-old kid to say something like that, to go, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to freaking sit there and sulk. I'm going to get off my butt and do something about it. So yeah, it's neat.
It's a really beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. We're just going to take a break, but we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. So Mark, before the break, we spoke about your accident. You're in a halo brace. Have you ever considered writing a book to tell your story?
My blog, which I think went past 20,000 words, my wife actually, I think it was 12 months out post-halo accident or post-injury, she actually presented it to me actually in a book-type form, and I actually have that in my office as a daily reminder, that sometimes when you live in a big life, big stuff happens, and I actually even still have my halo actually on a mannequin's head. It sounds kind of a bit out there, but it's in my office as well. And again, daily reminder, just stuff happens.
Yeah, then you can look at where you've been and where you're going based on looking at that, and you can remember the hard times and realise in the good times, but never forget those either.
Absolutely, yeah. Once again, turning a bad thing into a positive. I met some really fantastic people as a result of the accident. One quick little story that I'm reminded of is a guy befriended me who had a very serious motor accident, and he was pretty banged up, and he just dropped me a PM just to see how I was. He had also gone through depression, so that was really neat. And he told me about during his rehab that he was actually taught to draw and use colours to show emotion. And believe it or not, a few months after the actual injury, my wife and daughter were having a bit of a disagreement, and I sent my wife for a bit of a walk, and I said to my daughter, "Just draw me a picture, would you please? I just want you to draw a picture and show colour for emotion, and just see how it comes out." So she draws this beautiful picture of this. It was a self-portrait, and she uses tears, and actually writes a girl's name, actually in the tears, because she was being bullied. And sorry, but from that accident, being befriended by somebody on Facebook and learning that particular trick, or not trick, but something to do, has really helped me engage with my daughter, and we learned something, and it was just phenomenal that that's how deep it goes.
Life works in mysterious ways, and that synchronicity between events, even though it may not be an amazing event, it can be quite traumatic. It ends up leading us onto paths and people that end up helping us.
Absolutely, yeah.
I know many people that I cross paths with, they believe that everything happens for a reason,
Yes.
good or bad.
Yes.
And it's how you perceive it as well.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem at all. Thank you, Larry.
So Andrew,
How are you, Lyra?
how are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good. So Olympic weightlifting coach.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point, becoming an Olympic weightlifting coach?
So I've been involved in the sport for about 4 years now. How I actually got involved in the sport is pretty funny actually. I was just bored at home one day during the London Games, watching TV, didn't know what to watch, and obviously the games being on at that time, switched on, and I just saw this one guy lift a ton of weight over his head, and I was just like, I want to do that. At the time I started, because I've always been involved in sports, so throughout high school I was always that kid. I always did cross country, athletics, sport, I was that kid. And then after I finished school, I got into studying personal trainer. And then throughout that time, studied PT, got a job at a gym, and then the rest is pretty much, sorry guys.
History.
Yeah, the rest is pretty much history from there. During that time, obviously, before I got into weightlifting, I actually started my own personal training business. I couldn't really get involved in the sport at that time because I didn't know where to look. And then a few years later, I saw a friend post up a video, saw him do it, messaged him straight away. I was like, where do you do it? I want to do it. And then it's probably that was about 4 years ago, 4 years later now I compete. I now a coach. I coach at a gym called Lift Performance Centre. We're located in Redfern.
Yeah.
And I've been coaching there for over 2 years now.
Okay, it's a very hard game, personal training and Olympic lifting and whatnot, that you need to be specialised and you need to be good at what you do because there's so many people within there. So you being amazing at what you do tells me that, you know, you've got a good clientele, you've got people that are coming to you because you are really good at what you do. So I guess everyone wants to know, how much can you clean and jerk, snatch, all those fun things. What's the weight that you use?
Or what I can do, my training weight only, it's not the best at the sport. As this is a sport which people don't know, it's a sport that consists of 2 lifts, the snatch and clean and jerk, where you can train for hours, months, years for it to just be over within a second. So my best training lifts at the snatch is 110, training with clean and jerk, 140, though my best competition lifts are 103 and 138.
Okay, so did you compete this year or are you competing in 2019?
So this year I only competed in 3 competitions, which is the reason behind that was last year I was diagnosed with a very serious chronic disease which is called Guillain-Barré syndrome. So towards the end of last year I was actually getting really, really good, or much better and strong. And then one day I woke up and I could not move my body. I was just struggling to get out of bed, I could not move, to later find out that it was Guillain-Barré syndrome, which pretty much
So
shut down my
autoimmune
body.
deficiency,
Yes.
and they say it's similar to the severe flu, but it just doesn't go away, and your nerves just ache, your body aches. And I can imagine for someone that is quite fit and healthy, not being able to get out of bed, you question what is going on here.
Yeah, it's funny, like I had no clue what was going on with my body. It's like, I've got a comp on this day, I need to be ready for it. So in my head I'm thinking, I just want to be healthy for this competition. I still was going to go to the competition until I had my whole family and my girlfriend telling me, no, we've got to get checked up. I think it's something very serious. Like my sister thought I had a stroke because I was literally like walking, standing on my whole right side. So she thought, okay, we've got to go now. Doctors didn't know what was wrong with me at first until thankfully there was a neurologist on hand, and he picked it up right away, put me in ICU straight away. So the reason why I didn't do many comps this year was because I was recovering from that, and mentally that just, for me, in that time during the hospital, I was ready to give up on this entire sport. My career, coaching, training, I was just ready just to give up on all of it, because I was just thinking to myself, is what I'm doing really worth it? You know, I'm training hard, I'm eating well, and now I'm in hospital. So there were times in hospital when, even when I went for my MRI, for the entire time I was pretty upset, did cry for about...
Very dark times.
Yeah. I won't say I was in a real depression, but I was just, my eyes in life opened up even more. Just say, should I think about a new career? Or should I, you know, is it even worth just going to the gym anymore?
And especially, you know, with such a heavy loaded weight exercise movement that you're doing, being incapacitated on that level, they just don't go hand in hand.
No.
So you're having to give up something that you absolutely love because you're sick and you work very hard at it. So it's having to process that is hard within itself, and then having to deal with the illness itself is really difficult.
Yeah, that's correct. So I think what got me back the most as well to kind of get me out of that headspace as well was, besides my friends, family and my girlfriend, with my whole clientele, my whole squad that I coach, because I had a few of them that I needed to coach them for them to first to be able to qualify for this event called Australian Open. And neither one have ever competed in a semi-big level in Australia. This would have been the first bigger stage, so in my head I needed to get better. And they kept messaging me, sending me videos of their training, saying, you know, hoping you're well. When do you think you'll be back? You know, we hope you're still there for us. And they were telling me, like, you know, we're going to qualify if you're there or not for you. So that made me feel really good and made me actually kind of want to actually continue on with the sport.
The hunger's there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So this entire year, I focused just on my squad. And just get them better at the sport, get them to understand it more, and just so we can qualify for bigger events such as Australian Open, Nationals, and potentially an international event as well.
So you're feeling better now? At the end of 2018, you're feeling a little bit better?
Yeah, so the biggest breaking point for me was last month. I had my last checkup with a neurologist and all clear, 100%. He was actually amazed because with this disease, it's very rare for everything to come back. So my nerves all came back, my reflexes are back, and that's very rare for it to come back. So when he said, you're 100%, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, that's actually giving me more of a drive now to actually get back into it now.
Did you have any particular protocol? So if anyone's watching that suffers from the same, did you have any particular protocol that you followed, or did you saw something outside of what your neurologist, like was there anything that you did, mindset work or anything to kind of help your treatment course?
I did everything they recommended me, so I did all my rehab. I got in contact with one of the charities, the Guillain-Barré Syndrome Charity of Australia. They helped me out, and just having the support around me, friends, family, my girlfriend, that just got me back.
Yeah.
That just gave me the drive to get back into everything from there.
That pillar of strength, you know, I think sometimes we don't realise how important the people are around us until we actually need it.
That's right.
You touched on that before, Mark, that it's...
Absolutely, yeah.
So I don't think if I didn't have that support around me, I think I would have just gave up on the entire sport. Like I had my coach as well, he helped me out a lot. Like he came and saw me in hospital. It's funny, him and one of my other friends that I trained with, they came and brought me a trophy.
Okay.
It was actually a trophy I didn't really earn it, but I was supposed to earn it during a competition. But because I got sick, I didn't get to compete. And when he brought that to me, that actually
lifted your spirits.
Lifted me up. I was like, okay, I've got a promise and to give him, and that was for me to get to nationals. So that's what I hope to get him next year.
Do you still have the trophy?
Yeah, I still got it at home. I did actually give it back to him because I told him I didn't earn it. Here it is. But then I did ask back for it. It's a pretty cool trophy. It's just a gold barbell.
Okay.
So I asked him for it, but I told him I will get there.
I'll earn it.
Yeah, I'll earn it.
No, nice, lovely. Well, we're just going to take a short break and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. So, Andrew, anyone that is looking at getting into Olympic weightlifting, where do they start? Because I train myself and I know that you cannot just go in there and load up the bars.
Nah.
You'll walk out with an injury for sure. So someone that has never touched a barbell or weight in their life, what do you recommend?
I would recommend first find a good coach. But in saying find a good coach, you need to find someone that you could trust. Because like you were saying, you don't want to load the bar straight away. You are putting a lot of weight over your head. So you want to find someone that's good at teaching it and someone that you can trust that can get you to progress at doing it at a higher level.
So any injuries with cervical spine or anything?
No injuries at all.
Yeah, because it's, you know, you hear through the traps that it's quite common that people, sometimes if they load it up too much, they end up with injuries. And I guess it's poor form, poor technique.
If there is poor technique
much.
and poor, yes, that
so
can
how do you
occur.
minimise that?
Just start with a wooden stick.
Yeah.
Literally with my coach, or I coach anyone new in the sport, again with just a wooden stick, get them to learn how to move that, get them to feel the exercise, and then give them the barbell.
Okay. So I know training is a massive element within any sport. Do you guys do any sort of physical activity to prep yourself for racing? Because I know even though you're sitting down, it is quite a physical sport within itself. You do expend a lot of energy, you sweat a lot. Is there any protocols that you guys do with training?
Certainly. I do a lot of mountain biking, and with the pro slam or with the drag racing that I do, you would think that you would not have to be particularly fit, but I can tell you can actually sit in that car pre-race, cool and calm as a cucumber, and in 6 seconds be completely out of breath like you've run a marathon. And I don't know in any other type of racing that I've done where I've actually experienced that sort of adrenaline rush that you do with in a drag race. So
I was going to say, do you get that adrenal dump and then you feel super fatigued later on like you've run a marathon?
Absolutely. I can kind of see now why race car drivers typically, when they get out of a race car, they'll typically go into their race trailer and just just calm down for a little bit and just try and bring those energy levels back down, because the rush is pretty severe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tim, do you have any protocols with training? Do you eat any burgers before you race? Or?
No, I try to have a good breakfast, stay fit, like important, because I do a lot of, with the racing, sort of endurance sort of stuff, so I try to train by doing a lot of running, a lot of bike riding, swimming, and try and go for a long distance, so same similar times to how long the race would be, and keep your heart rate up and But no, I try and drink a few Powerades or something before I go out and just stay calm and relaxed because you don't want to be too stressed to going out. You want to be nice and relaxed.
Sure, and nutrition is a massive component within any sporting capability. So what does a day on your plate look like before you race?
Oh, I have, normally Mum makes me a nice sort of maybe bacon and egg roll, and then I try to eat a lot of fruit during the day, a lot of Powerade, and just try and keep your energy levels up, because if you lose energy in the car, then your mindset starts going down and make mistakes, could potentially crash, so you gotta try and stay nice and energised.
And do you have like a hydration filter that comes through like your water filter in the car? Like how does this work? Because I've always wondered that. Like do they have a little hose to give them water, or what do you have in your cars?
Yeah, we have a like a bottle in the back of the car that's just got like fuel line, which runs into your helmet so if you want to drink, but towards the end of the race it sort of gets a bit hot, so it's like drinking hot water, so it's not the best.
And Andrew, what do you eat before you train? Like I know everyone talks about all these different things and protocols with carbs pre-training, carbs post-training. What do you do as an Olympic weightlifter?
So in the morning, what I'll normally have for my breakfast, depending how much time, when I've woken up to get ready for work, I'll normally just have an omelette, some greens on the side, and before my trainings, it's very basic. I would always have a cup of coffee, long black, and I'll just go out somewhere, either get some yogurt or just have some chicken, a bit of rice and some greens. Just get me going from there.
So everyone's got like a nifty thing that they do. Is there anything that you do, particularly like you follow it methodically before you train? Is there certain music you listen to? Is there a certain warm-up you do?
So I always keep my warm-ups the same. It usually takes me about half an hour. I obviously start from lower body and make my way up. I always have my headphones in when I train. I tend to prefer, I just like to warm up, listening to whatever. Music's always the number one priority for me.
Yeah.
I listen to anything that has a good beat. Keeps me going from there. The one thing I always keep the same is I always have a coffee before I train.
Okay.
Even if I'm training at 5 p.m, I'll have a coffee about 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So
extra caffeine hit, a little bit of a metabolic boost.
I feel like that gives me going, and it gives me a good training session from there.
Awesome. And Tim, any like particular thing that you do on race days? Is there like special undies you wear, or is there like special socks you wear?
No.
Anything quirky that the viewers need to know?
I'm not the biggest superstition person, but I'd say my dad, he does all that for me. We're having a good weekend, he'd wear the same clothes for the next 3 days.
Really?
So, no.
How does Mum like that?
No, she tells him to change all the time. No, but before the race, we like to do a lot of reflexing, so like throwing balls and trying to be quick with your hands, because when you race, you got to be, reflexes are everything, so.
Okay. And Mark?
I've got a little bit of a funny one. I typically get a haircut pre-race, believe it or not.
Wow.
It's, and I get teased at my place of business about
there's a
it
helmet
quite
on.
regularly. No, it's just a thing. It just seems that it's always haircut time just before a race, and I get teased at my business quite regularly about, obviously there's a race coming up, you've had a haircut. So it's, haircut time for me. That's pretty much it.
Okay. And any, I guess, advice for any young viewer that is watching, or any middle-aged or elderly viewer that's watching and they want to get into racing, Olympic lifting, where would be the first point of call that you'd tell them to start?
Depending on what type of genre you want to get hooked into, you just got to get out there. Motor racing is it's a sensory thing. It's the vibration. Certainly drag racing, there's 2 cars on the track, so from a visual point of view, it's phenomenal. You've got 2 cars, big screen tally, they zoom wide in. It's also one of the very few motorsports where public can actually go down into the pits. So you can actually walk around a drag race event and get right up close to top fuel cars pulling their engines down. Pro slammers actually working on the cars. We actually invite people into our pit area and actually put them inside the car. And we'll take photos and we'll try and sell a little bit of merchandise and talk to them about it. And so very much just get out there and have a go.
Just give it a red hot
and
crack.
ask. And it's not hard if you want to get involved. Maybe you want to be a crew member. Maybe you want to be a sponsor. Maybe you've got a successful business and you want to have your name on the side of the AC Dalco Pro Slammer. There's a good idea. Just come down and ask and hang out with us, because we're all human. Have a go, I think.
Okay. And Andrew, with like weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, it's quite arduous. So I know that people can become quite discouraged very quickly because they're not lifting the weight and they're watching all these people on social media doing and pushing and all this sort of weight. how do you tell them to stick at it? You know, what advice would you give to someone that's like, I just want to give up, I just can't do what they're doing?
Don't compare it to yourself to anyone else. It's very easy to fall into that trap where with social media you're looking at, okay, this person's lifting this amount of weight. I've been doing it for 6 months now. Why can't I be lifting the same amount as him? Yeah, I think with this sport, as much as it is a strength sport, you got to be mentally very strong as well. Like, just don't compare yourself to anyone. Like, to progress, you got to regress. So if you don't feel that your lift isn't where it should be, take 3 steps back, build your way back up from there, and then it'll all just come.
We actually have some footage of you, so let's take a look at that.
All getting your feet down flat. Suck tight and keep flat on the couch. You bounce off. That's the one, man. Awesome. Come on. That's it. Keep straight. Good man. Well done. Great. Thank you.
Andrew, impressive.
Thank you.
That looks a little bit crazy. I don't think I could do that. So, Mark, I was hearing before, there's a new car on the block. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's been kept a fairly big secret, but it's about to become a reality. Summonats 32, we're actually taking two AC Dalco Pro Slammers down to Canberra. We'll be unveiling the brand new car. It's lighter, leaner, sleeker, hopefully it's going to be a lot faster, and it will give us the edge to hopefully run at the pointy end of the field, which you know, you've really got to be on you know, at your best game to be able to run at the front end.
So, Tim, do you think you could ever switch over and drive those funny cars and all that sort of stuff? Is that something that you want to do when you get older?
Oh, I don't think I'll be able to do it. It's too fast for me, and the noise and everything. I think I'd be too scared to.
Scares you a little bit?
Yeah.
What actually scares you? Because it's just like too much sensory overload.
Too much noise and the speed you're travelling at, no, I definitely like going down watching them, and it's pretty impressive.
Andrew, do you reckon you could jump in one of the cars?
A bit nerve-wracking, but I think I could.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be that great, but I could do it.
Yeah, I don't think I could. I'm a really bad driver, so I don't think I would be good at any sort of race car.
The current AC Dalco Pro Slam is actually fitted with a passenger seat, and we actually offer through the Holden Trade Club, and part of the Summonats promotion is actually we're offering 6 ride days, and we actually completely look after you from the moment you turn up. We feed you, we hydrate you, and we get you strapped into a 3,000 horsepower 5-second slammer, and we take you for the ride of your life. It's pretty cool.
Both hands are up. I will be the victim. I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's a neat deal.
That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, guys, we're going to take a break, but we will be back shortly. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. So, off air, Tim, you're just saying you have a few questions that you'd like to ask.
Yeah, I'll just ask Michael just some questions about the car, like how much does the car weigh?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so to build a top alcohol door slammer, you've basically got about 100 metres of chromoly tubing go into it. There's about 120 individual bars to actually build that car. There is a minimum weight of about 2,700 pounds on that vehicle. 3,000 horsepower. We consume 20 litres of fuel in a pass. So imagine a 20 litre bottle of water, and that's gone in 5.7 seconds. So they're pretty phenomenal. Thirsty beasts. They're not the sort of thing you want to drive down the local shops. They're actually quite easy to drive at low speed, and when you nail that throttle, they are just an absolute beast of a thing to try and drive.
So the maintenance on something like that, I could imagine, would just be phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll turn up in a semi or a B double. Some of the race teams have, truck and trailer. We'll typically carry a spare motor, and it's not uncommon for race teams to actually pull the entire engine out between rounds and actually swap a motor over. It's fairly common. The clutch will come out of the car fairly regularly. Gearbox will be removed after most passes. So if you can imagine, to give you an idea, a set of pistons and conrods, you know what a piston and conrod is in an engine, they cost our slammer team about $5,000 to $5,500 for a set of 8 pistons and conrods. We do 20 passes with those pistons and conrods, and then we pull them out and sell them. So those pistons and conrods have been in racing conditions for under 1 minute. They owe the team about $550 each combo, and we actually sell them at the racetrack to give something back to the fans for $120. It's kind of neat.
How much does it cost to run a car like that, build a car like that?
Larry,
Like,
that is a really
I'm
good
really
question.
intrigued.
Every single time the car goes down the track, so 5.8 seconds, 6 seconds, $3,000. $3,000 a pass. And remember, we offer the ride day. That car is race ready in full race trim, and it's a full power pass to half track. We are limited to an ET of 7.5 seconds. We can't exceed that, but we'll be doing nearly 170, 175 miles an hour at half track before we actually deploy the parachute. So the ride days, if you can get into the competition, folks, go to Holden Trade Club and actually check us out, Power and the Passion, Simon That's 32, big promotion. Get your entry forms in because there are 6 rides that are going to become available. It's really neat.
Amazing, amazing. I really look forward to watching what you guys are going to do within 2019. Thank you so much for joining us on the panel show today. And I hope the guests have enjoyed us. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.